Welcome back for a live stream halfway through the week. Getting this one started 15 minutes or so late, but it looks like we already have some people in here. What's going on, Jeremiah, Mark, PL, Santiago, Sky, Jones? Hopefully everyone's having a good day. Today's really the first day I would say I'm a little bit more, I think it's fair to be more excited today in looking at the market and seeing what's happening. For the first time in the past 10 days, really, we have Bitcoin at least finally testing kind of one of the outer bands of this tight range we've been trading in, right? Bottom of that being around 33.40. We pierced it today. That level was defended, right? Volume stepping in as we drop below the swing low. So we're a lot closer to there being action, whether that's to the downside or to the upside. I like the reaction we saw so far. If I look at how majors are still moving, kind of what I'm have kind of a gut feeling of, and more than a gut feeling, based on the price action we're seeing, and I know Litecoin and a few of these other majors haven't continued, right? They haven't continued through major resistance we're looking at, but the way that I'm seeing a lot of them, whether it is Litecoin, let me get these drawings out of the way, whether it is Litecoin or whether it's ADA, which we're going to look at again today. We haven't looked at ADA since December, right? That past swing, the price action we want to be involved with, right? ADA getting very interesting as well, getting back to a major support. This is we replayed that last trade end of December going into January. That turned out to be a nice 20-30% win. So coins, majors, not only mid caps, but majors also are getting to pretty interesting levels. We had a pop this morning out of Bitcoin Cash. It looks like a lot of coins are at least getting jumpy. And then most recently, just in the last hour or so, we had Basic Attention Token ripping up 20 or 30%, but this one's news driven, right? This is the Coinbase news that came out, right? So I'm going to kind of view that as an outlier. But we have a ton of stuff to look at. I do still want to look at some mid caps just in preparation if Bitcoin does break up. MFT is one that we've been covering, one that I've liked as long as it stays above 84 sats. Volume still kicking in. I definitely think kind of that 109 sat target is definitely attainable. Why I think looking at VET and some other ones that kind of match that same profile are interesting to me still. So it's still not clear skies for alts, but I would definitely say it's kind of the first day that I'm excited, kind of ripped around in all the charts right to begin, but we'll start with Bitcoin. I would say it's the first day that I'm actually excited and thinking that we will get action this week, right? And that's because one of these levels is finally tested. We swept those lows. If Bitcoin does break up from here, I imagine it will bring some alts along with it, right? Volatility is at lows. Really can't go any lower than where we are right now. Obviously, you can hang here for a few days, but this is about as slow as the markets can get. Right, so there will be an expansion move. I think it's sooner rather than later. We're finally getting kind of volume at least kicking and some spurts on alts. Right, so it's the first day where I'm rather excited. I think everyone's probably excited to get some action going this month. And trust me, I would like to put another kind of month on the calendar that works out as well as January in terms of units of risk and in terms of kind of hit rate and everything. All right, so we'll start with Bitcoin. Shout out to everyone that's in here. As always, fire any questions that you have, any coins you may look at, or anything you want to see going forward. I will do my best to hit those. I have kind of a list of things that I want to talk about, but I always want to work in if there's something that I'm missing. One thing that people have asked about is USD pairs. Looking at those for a few coins. I know that Y, I believe his name is, in Discord, wants to look at both long and short opportunities for majors. I'm rather hesitant still on shorting majors. If anything, I'm actually still looking to kind of get long. I'll talk about why with ADA. I'll talk about why with EOS and with a few of these, even ETH, right? And I'm not ready to pull triggers yet, but I'm not going to be shorting right now. We can definitely look at levels that I think it's interesting, though. If you are hedged or if you are short, they kind of match up with levels that I'd be buying, right? So anyways, I'll pass along a macro view first, and then we'll break down into individual setups. Most are not in play, but if we finally do get kind of that action, whether it happens today, but at daily close, or tomorrow, or by Friday, I 100% think we have it this week. I would be very, very, very surprised if we go a full 2 weeks with volatility this low. All right, let's get into it, guys. Let me take a quick sip of my water, and we will. All right, so looking at Bitcoin, the breakdown that we just had here, and I'm calling it a breakdown. I shouldn't really call it a breakdown. I guess intraday trading through that, just on really small time frames, trading through this 33.43 level. And I don't really view that level as a support. The reason that I have both these levels marked out is I'm just trying to visualize and kind of show you guys as well when I pass along that Bitcoin chart into the server, what kind of range and what kind of area we've been trading in with Bitcoin, right? I just want to get a visual, get an understanding of kind of this is the $140 range we've been trading in, right? Little 3% move. Here's the swing low, here's the swing high. I'm not really viewing that as a support. I'm not really viewing that as a resistance. It's more of a visual guide. What I view today's pierce through as, we had one almost the exact same kind of thing on the chart a while back. 34.30, which has been such a crucial level if we kind of take out the tight range we've been trading in. 34.30 is right, this is that swing low that was not a support or resistance either. Obviously, it is acting one now, as one now. But it was just kind of an important pivot for me, meaning as we move down into it and below it, I knew I didn't want to be in alts. If we move back above it, I'm excited about alts. But what we just had today with that little pierce, right? We have our swing low we pierced through and closed back above. What that reminds me of is this price action right here, right? And this was this was really mid-January. And whenever price does that on kind of a small time frame, buy volume steps in, can reclaim the level, right? Very quick move, and even on 5, 15, everything, the move comes down, buy volume steps in very quickly and reclaims that level. That's really how I'm viewing what just happened today, right? So if I look at 33.43, which I was kind of watching as a swing low of this smaller range here for Bitcoin. Let me just outline here. And once again, using range kind of liberally here, not like the range we had and traded in for a few months. I'm just wanting to visualize kind of the price zone, the price range that we have been in for the past 10 days, right? So this pierce I'm viewing very similar to this one in the sense that we move down, volume kicks us right back up, indicating there's demand below there, right? Strong enough to not break down from there, call it a fake out, call that whatever you want, right? And then generally, I'm going to view that as a sign of strength short term, as a sign of bullishness short term. Not bullishness in the sense that, we're ready to moon, we're ready to go to 4K, but it is a nice sign, right? It would have been bearish if we had kind of a 1 hour, 4 hour close. If you think about it to the opposite side, what am I looking at to confirm breakouts or breakdowns? It'd be a 1 hour, a 4 hour close. Generally, we'd have the close, then we'd have a retest, right? So that's kind of the opposite of what happened there. I like that reaction so far. I do think it also kind of keeps alive and is rather constructive for major alts that can move up, right? So that's one thing I'm watching. I think that can also kind of be the driving factor now that Bitcoin can actually move back up to 34.30 and maybe to the top of this range and maybe past it, right? So that's what I'm watching now as we pierce this. Demand clearly showed we could recover it, still holding this 10-day range we've been in. Despite all that, Bitcoin is just still not interesting to me to trade. I'm still kind of sticking by the view that, the past 7 or 10 days, sure, you maybe could have caught a scalp, but I think for the vast majority of people and the people that I've talked to in the group, it's been beneficial to kind of sit out in this chop. It's definitely been beneficial to sit out in terms of alts, which are still kind of chopping around down 4 or 5% on average. So I'm still liking that viewpoint. I'm just kind of staying current with what's happening and definitely ready for when there is a move. Right? What that means for alts, we're going to look at a few of the Binance alts that are moving first, and then we'll get into the majors. MFT is a coin that it really kind of still has been an outlier. There's a low sat theme, which I think exists or existed definitely before Bitcoin got rather bearish. Pundi, Holochain, not all of them survived. For some reason, MFT did. Really, right? I want to move slow. I want to let this one rise. I want to kind of let the trend do the work. Even if all other alts are down, there are, outliers. There are circumstances. There are times when kind of one alt can do fine when everything else is hurting. Right? So as long as this is kind of that breaking point for me, as long as 84 sats holds, I expect 109 to just be kind of the next stop. That's based on this swing high right here. And so same kind of technique, same methodology for picking most of my targets. It's going to be based on that first high time frame swing high, right, of that daily candle back here in November. Right, so for those people in MFT, I would definitely be considering that and looking at that in terms of taking profit. Even if we do move past this, I think you'd probably get a chance for a retest, or kind of you'd probably get a chance to buy even lower. Right, so I still like that 40, 45, 50% levels to take profit as long as MFT is above this 84 sats. I like it. It's really also the highest place that I would buy MFT. Looking at really the only other alt that is moving today, and this is mostly based off news. It's funny, I saw a few Twitter traders kind of jumping on this one. It looks like right at the top. Basic attention token, last time we traded it was during that September run. This is when they announced they were getting added to Coinbase. Right, really fun retest play. This worked out for a 50% play with the group. Played it before, executed all in full time. It looks like it bounced kind of right at the entry. I haven't been tracking this one at all, so I was not aware of this. It 100% bounced on the news. Coinbase, it looks like, is going to be paying people in basic attention token in their new kind of Coinbase Earn platform. I'm not viewing this as a real catalyst to want to be in basic attention token. I think that's a really weak catalyst or a really weak news piece. That's not the type of thing that, to me, is going to kind of drive price for days or weeks, right? That's kind of a one-off event. I'd be surprised if this momentum carries through. Maybe I'm wrong and it does continue for 3 days. Popping, I understand why it's popping. I think it's positive news for basic attention token. I wouldn't be a buyer unless it was kind of back down at this support level, right? And I just haven't been tracking BAT. But I would want it kind of still at like 3,000 sats, 3,100 sats. I'm not buying into this pump. I imagine you're going to see that one on your timeline quite a bunch. On the major side of things, you guys know that I am, yeah, we can definitely look at that. Oliver, for sure. You guys know that I'm still stalking this one. Very excited about Litecoin. If it gives us the bigger play, right? I need to see it above here. I'm not going to cover this one because we've covered it pretty extensively, right? That's a retest play. That's a confirmed breakout play. Moving slow, waiting for both of those conditions is going to keep you and me from kind of buying right at the top, right? So this could even potentially set up to be a short opportunity. If Bitcoin breaks down, if all majors break down, I'll ride it back down to support until it breaks out of here. This is just something that I have to sit and wait and kind of be patient with, right? I know a lot of people are watching and wanting to be in Litecoin. I'm going to add an alert just so I don't miss it. But I don't see any reason to jump into it early. Looks like TradingView isn't going to let me add an alert. That's that. EOS, I don't have anything particular to say. In terms of looking at most of the other mid caps that I find really attractive, I'm still holding off, guys, until Bitcoin gives us the confirmation. I know that's grinding some people's gears, and like I said at the beginning, I know that that's helped some people massively in terms of being patient. I just still believe that's the right play, and just because we're 7 or 8 days into it, I'm not going to kind of give up that discipline just to force the action. So I'm 100% still stalking those plays. I do think Bitcoin gives us action soon, but for DNT and VET and a few of these other ones, ELF, a lot of these that look good, Loom's another one that looks really good. I'm not going to kind of force them just to be in them, right? Yoda, we could definitely look at LTC USD. Let me look at GoChain real quick. Actually, let me hit my last thing. We will hit GoChain, and then we'll look at LTC USD. So another chart that's really interesting to me that I'm stalking is some of you guys, I guess, will remember the ADA play going into December, January. I'm going to try to find it really quick. We could look at ELF as well. One quick second here. Right, this was going into January. This was really kind of the first major plays, I guess you could say, we made in the last 2 months. That was December and January were very good months. We played ADA and ETH, right? And ADA was using this previous support, turned resistance, used as support, aimed for the next kind of range high, right? So how that worked out, we get the retest, right? Moves up to range high, literally kind of caught the local tops. Now we're almost all the way back down to where we started in December. Right, so the interesting point to me is most mid caps Yep, RCN looking good. Most mid caps like RCN, Santiago's bringing up. If we look at DNT, if we look at, ELF, all these coins that have, made slight gains in January, at 20, 30%, almost all of them have drifted back down to kind of their break even, right? Or exactly kind of where they started their positive momentum. Most majors haven't done that yet, but it looks like they're really, really, really close to doing it, right? So for ADA, we're about 5% off from that. If ADA does get down to this area and does start to trade kind of at this exact same support that we played the last trade, that's when I actually might kind of take a trade on ADA as well. If ETH is to drop a little bit more, I would consider taking a trade on ETH. The difference with these majors is even if Bitcoin kind of isn't giving that positive price action above 34.30, these are a few that I would actually still take the chance on. I think most mid caps kind of have to wait on Bitcoin to move up. I think some of these majors could kind of do it on their own. So this is definitely going to be one I'm watching as well. Just like Litecoin, it's also kind of setting up a massive inverted head and shoulders, right? So it doesn't have the volume profile yet, but you guys can kind of see what I'm looking at here, right? Obviously that right shoulder still needs to form, but that's going to be a really interesting look along with Litecoin. It's a few steps behind. So ADA down here at around 1,000 sats, even in the kind of 1,030, 1,020 sat range is going to be a really interesting place. So this is another one that I'm stalking. Litecoin and ADA, I would say I'm probably the most excited about for February. They still both need to set up, but this is one to definitely keep on your watch list, right? Ideally, in kind of a perfect world, I'm going to be looking to play it the exact same way as we played it before. And that's going to be off a retest of this support, stop below this support, giving myself a little bit of room and aiming for that kind of that next high time frame level up. If kind of the inverted head and shoulders does play out, alts can get a major push up. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at kind of next high time frame level when this trade could really turn out to be a runner, right? But for right now, I'm going to play kind of the first level, what I think is interesting. If we do get a retest of this, to me, I'm going to have a hard time not buying it. So that's another one that I think should be on your watch list. All right. Now we can take a look at GoChain. Ooh, there we go. It is down now at the patient more ideal entry. Oliver, I'd be curious, were you the one that brought up GoChain a while back when we first charted this one out? This is kind of exactly what I wanted. So if we look back, right, September lows, October lows, really kind of the first level that GoChain took off, right? I think when we charted GoChain, we were somewhere around here. Oliver, I think when you first asked about it, that must have been mid-December. I personally wanted to wait, and especially since we've just been in a down market, wait until kind of the more ideal entry. Right? I think this is the lowest that GoChain has ever been. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So this one is pretty interesting to me. RSI finally on the oversold, but what's more attractive is that we are finally kind of on the cycle low or on the all-time low or in the swing low support back here. Right? So just because it does look great, Oliver, and if this is something you're tracking, if this is something you're really familiar with, I'm not going to say to you not to buy it, but for me, the strategy still kind of remains of I want to let Bitcoin show its hand before I'm diving into my Binance alts. I do think, as I've kind of stated a few times now, I do think Bitcoin is finally looking exciting today. I think if there's any day where Bitcoin looks like it's ready for a jump up or a BART up or whatever you want to call that, I would say it's today. And what that leads to is if we do get a Bitcoin that does trickle up and get above 34.30, and I look at a play like GoChain or I look at a play like some of the Binance coins I've been watching, to me, then that kind of tilts me towards wanting to buy. This price action we're seeing right now with GoChain hitting this support level, I would actually say this might be good enough to warrant a buy. If you like the coin, if you've been tracking it, I think buying kind of at this support is maybe one of the best entries you're to get. Even if kind of it goes against you, risk reward wise, I think it does make a lot of sense. Yep. But I'm personally waiting on Bitcoin kind of giving us the action, right? Let's say that Bitcoin does give us the price action I want. Let's say that alts bounce that 5 or 10% or whatever it is overnight. I would almost rather buy, right, with a little bit more confirmation. If we get a really nice reaction here, if volume steps in, I'd almost rather buy that, 4 or 5% higher, way higher kind of confirmation, probably a less chance that I'm wrong, things like that. So I would say this is as close to kind of a perfect entry as you're going to get if the market's going to turn. That being said, Oliveira, exact same kind of thought process as it looks like you typed out. I'm personally kind of waiting to see what Bitcoin does. But this is probably the closest entry you're going to get to perfect if the market does turn. The way I'd be setting this up is obviously entering along support or as close to that ideal entry as possible, giving myself a little bit of room below this. I don't place my stop on Binance. I like to have an alert here on TradingView, and then looking to swing probably at least to the most recent swing high. That's going to be a 30% move, but ideally up to kind of this 50% 745 level, right? And that's just the highest time frame support resistance flip that I can spot really quick with my eyes there. Right? So that'd be a 6R play. Even the shorter target right here, first target, is going to be, I mean, even that's a nice little 3-4R. I really like this setup. I'm probably going to, I'll break down this setup a little bit closer. I'm going to put this one into Members Trade Ideas. I like that one a lot, Oliver. I'll be breaking that one down with you guys. Might even trade this one. I want to see Bitcoin show its hand, but this is something that I would trade if Bitcoin moves up. I would have too hard of a time not buying that. Thanks for bringing that one up. Yeah, we did look at that one January 11th. That's when it was. Yep. Crazy stuff. Yep, you got it. Santiago, speaking about RSI, what you're taking indicators, seems like you're more... Indicators are great. If they help you, right, go for it. I think I've experimented with them all. I think most traders do kind of when they're new. What I've found is most indicators are really going to tell me the exact same thing I'm looking at price action-wise with the chart anyways. I'd prefer just to use kind of my price levels, understanding of what's happening with cycles and volume. But I will confirm sometimes with an RSI. Right? Sometimes, after a while, you can kind of look at a chart and see what's overbought, oversold. I think they're good. I would never use them as kind of a holy grail. I think some people get caught up in that. CJ, ELF, and then Yoda. I will definitely look at LTC. Trust me, I did not forget about you. Let's look at ELF. Just like GoChain, right? Just like almost every single Binance coin we're going to look at, guys. Going into January, I loved these Binance plays, and I still think they look good. Most of them have actually still held their structure, right? All the invalidation levels have so far been below, right? What's our cycle low back here in November? We have the support that continues to be respected. No daily closes below. Volume steps in every single time we touch it, right? So all the ideas really, even from December, January, even though I wanted to kind of reduce exposure, none of them have kind of moved down farther past their supports. CJ, you got an entry at 28.17. I like that. That's a hell of an entry. I mean, that entry looks really nice. That's, 28.07 is kind of the support I have marked. I think that's fine. Most recent high for a target. I think if I'm looking at most conservative kind of level that I want to be taking profits at, like most conservative level, it's going to be this one, right? It's going to be like 34.36. But ideally, and the same thing with GoChain, if I can secure an entry that good, right, I usually want to at least kind of be aiming for however much room you want to give for a stop. I kind of at least want to be aiming for that next high time frame resistance support flip, right? It's just where most coins are going to be able to trade if Bitcoin or if alts can kind of get at least kind of a little 5-10 day upswing, right? I'm going to be looking at around 38.06 sats. Yeah, 38.05, 38.06. So I'd say I don't view kind of that 3600 sat as that important. If I'm looking at, a smaller range, I would say this is kind of the only one that pops out to me if I'm thinking about a target before 3800. I think you can see where I'm drawing that from, right? You can see the touches and the significance there. Yep, cool. CJ, happy to hear it. Love to see that you're applying those concepts. Good stuff. Like the entry. I imagine that one will work out well. Like I said, I'm being a little more patient, but I like to see you guys fine-tuning things. Following what I'm doing just because I'm doing it is rarely going to lead to good results for you. I like that people apply kind of some of my stuff to their own strategy. What else do we have? Litecoin, Yoda, I got you. I'm going to go with a clean chart here on the Bitfinex chart. For the most part, Yoda, this is going to very closely resemble the actual Litecoin Bitcoin chart. But it is slightly different. I'll give it that. All right, so most important resistance, and it's really the same resistance. I'll put them right up next to each other here so we can kind of see side by side. Right, so the Litecoin chart that we've been using against Bitcoin, right, really kind of right at that horizontal resistance, previous swing high, right around 0.01. And so daily's right at resistance, clearly in an upswing since the 13th of December. This chart closely resembles it. The only difference is this swing high that we had up here, right, kind of at the end of or mid-January, is a lot higher, and that's just because Bitcoin was up higher. But if I'm looking at playing Litecoin USD versus playing Litecoin Bitcoin, I would say Litecoin USD even looks a little bit more bullish. Would need a close for me above 35.3. Really want to see it kind of above 36, right? You can see the daily resistance here. I'm going to go back to one chart, easier to track. Right, so if we have kind of our daily closes, what is price closing below ever since kind of mid or end of November? And that starts right here. That resistance starts right here. I'm going to mark it out. 1, 2, those candles piercing through, closing below, exact same thing here. Right, resistance still being respected, resistance being respected. We have the breakout of that level, the first close above it, daily close, leads to expansion above. Right, when we get back below it, continues to respect this level. Right, so for me, if I'm playing a breakout, exactly like this condition that we have here, right, I'm either kind of waiting for the break for the confirmed close above this. Really accurate number is around 35.01, right, $35.01. Or you could be playing in anticipation of this breakout, right? If I'm looking at this trend line support that we've been writing up, and this one is obviously the riskier play, a little bit earlier play. But if you're viewing this, I think you could maybe make an argument of ascending triangle. I'm not as concerned of patterns. I think for the most part, I'm just focused on whether or not horizontal levels and confirmations are going to happen, right? But if you wanted to, I think you could play this as kind of an earlier entry down here and trying to get filled kind of in the $33, $33.10 range, anticipating the breakout, right? Anticipating that we move up. Obviously, that's the riskier play. For me personally, I'd be buying the breakout of 35.01. From there, where I'd be targeting, $50 seems to be thrown around a lot. I like that for a lot of reasons. That's where the breakdown happened. It's also the first support resistance flip, right? So this range back here, this zone back here, this was previous support. As soon as that level breaks, right, that's really where we started dropping with high volumes, right? So a breakout of $35 very kind of clearly for me would trigger along up to around 50 or 51, right? 49 is kind of the first area I'd be looking to take profit, maybe with a partial take profit in here, right? For about a 20% play up to $41. But ideally, I'm looking at kind of the full swing. This would be just to the first swing high, right? Ideally, I'm looking for the full swing and wanting to give myself at least a little bit of room below these most recent swing lows. Right? You could play it really tight. That's fine. You know, it's up to you to kind of set up the trade on your own. Generally, I want to give myself at least a little bit of room kind of below these most recent swing lows. But I like the Litecoin look a lot there. Even against the dollar, I think it looks great. It maybe even looks a little bit better against the dollar. Right? So take out this trend line if you're not a pattern trader, if you don't like the trend lines as much. And to me, this setup is really clear with one kind of trigger, right? It needs a daily close above $35, ideally kind of $35.50 or $36 to make it very clear. Past that, I'm targeting at least these swing highs at $40, but really kind of the major play there is going to be $50. So dependent on Bitcoin, probably even more dependent on Bitcoin than just alts are. But I think that one could work out as well. I think it looks really good. Guys, I just have a gut feeling, and based on the reaction from Bitcoin and demand stepping in right there, finally getting a little bit of action today, alts are kind of hinting at it as well. I think if Bitcoin does give a move up, and we've been trading in this for 7 or 10 days, I think it's likely to happen today or tomorrow. I am leaning towards the chances of us moving up being slightly higher. That being said, I'm still not positioned in it. It is just something I'm watching and will 100% continue to update with you all. If we do get that move up above 34.30, I'm going to be a busy man. I know that we'll be trading a lot more. I really think kind of the market is going to react well to that. I think volatility is going to pick up in alts. I think most alts will move up on that correlation. And I think we're going to have another month like January if we kind of get that perfect scenario of Bitcoin kind of maybe cleared some stops, demand stepped in. If we can move up and inch up above 34.30, I think February gets very how I'm viewing the market. Hopefully those alt setups help. There are quite a few that I'm stalking. I think Litecoin USD is something that's very attractive. If I'm looking at a few alts that maybe aren't going to give you a better buying opportunity, I think that Go Chain play is very, very interesting as well. Oliver, I'm going to break it down in the group, but that might even be a buy, even if Bitcoin kind of hasn't confirmed yet. That might be a buy, even if it's a partial order, right, and playing it rather tight. That might be a buy that I just can't pass up. I think that looks great, about to be oversold, playing kind of on the last level before we had that major move up. So this one could work out very well too. I like that. I like the Litecoin looks. I like getting a few new charts during the stream, getting some questions answered. That's all I have for today, guys. I'm going to update these, obviously, in the channels. Once again, if you're new here, I don't think we have too many new people, but none of this is trading advice, guys. Just want to pass along my research, pass along what I'm looking at, and hopefully provide some value there. That's all I have for the show today. And yeah, good stuff. Yoda, hopefully that helped out. CJ, happy to see you applying those concepts. And Oliver, good stuff, man. Appreciate the question. That's all I have. Stay well, guys. Halfway through the week. I am excited for action, as anyone is. I'm hungry for it. Definitely would like to put a few nice swings on the board this week. That's all I have. Stay well. Take it easy. I'm out. I'll see you in the group. Peace.